Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is there audio now? Hmm. Oh, okay. It's working now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala amma ba'd. So, welcome everybody. Um, Another review session. Today is day 3. Inshallah, same drill as yesterday. I'll be taking any questions on material that we've already covered. Let me. We're not on live on the website yet. One moment. Oops. All right, let me try and see if this works. Okay. Um, Still having a little bit of difficulty when it comes to the website, so inshallah, it's not going to be up on the website today either, unfortunately. We'll have to do with YouTube and Facebook, inshallah. But I think that should be fine for one more day, bismillah. Inshallah, starting tomorrow, I'll have everything good to go for Facebook, YouTube, and also the website. But let's move on to questions, inshallah. If you all have any questions, you can start to send them in the chat, inshallah, and I'll start to tackle them. Can I explain transitive, intransitive, passive, and active? Inshallah, Ustad is going to go over that first thing in today's class. He's going to go over the definitions of each one and what they are and examples. So I'll leave that for Ustad, inshallah. Can I go through? Okay, again, we're gonna everything from the end of yesterday's class. We're gonna go over at the beginning of today's class. Why is aslama considered past tense even though it starts with alif hamza? So this is important. A lot of people have been having questions related to this. So inshallah, make sure everybody pays attention here. When we talked about present tense, we said that present tense verbs can start with hamza or noon or ya or ta. Just because a fi'l starts with hamza or noon or ya or ta does not make it automatically present tense. Okay? Just because a fi'l starts with one of these four letters does not make it automatically present tense. All present tense fi'ls have to start with these letters, but not all fi'ls that start with these letters are going to be present tense. That's what you need to kind of remember. Okay, I'll say it one more time. All present tense fi'ls will start with these four letters, but not all fi'ls that start with these four letters will be present tense. Okay? You need the beginning and the ending together to make it present tense. But the endings we talked about for past tense fi'ls, they're stronger than present tense fi'ls, the present tense beginnings. So I can have a word that starts with hamza, like aslama, for example. But if it has the present tense ending, if it has the past tense ending, then it's going to be past tense. Okay, so the smart way of going about it would be to look for your past tense endings first. If you see a past tense ending, then you automatically know it's past tense. You don't even have to worry about it being present tense. So look for the past tense endings first. Okay? If there's no past tense ending and it does start with one of these four letters, hamza, nun, ya, and ta, then you look for your present tense combinations and see if it fits any of those. So that's how you want to go about it. But try to get that misconception out of your head. Again, not every fi'l that starts with one of these four letters will be present tense. Ustad will be on in about 40 minutes, inshallah. So again, we'll talk about passive. Odina, we'll talk about passive in today's class as well. But here, the way you're saying it, sure, the way it's understood is that the doer is Allah. If you say we were created by Allah, it's understood by us that Allah is the doer of the verb. But grammatically speaking, created does not have a doer. We're talking about grammatically when we say there's no doer, not meaning wise. Because meaning wise, you can add a doer later. But grammatically speaking, there is no doer. You're still confused using present tense from Yuslimu. Jelly beans, if you can try to clarify where your confusion is, I can help you a little bit better. Can we revise past tense? Sure, we can go over it very quickly. Let me zoom in. Okay, past tense. Just as a review for everybody, for past tense, we have aslama, where we'll use aslama. Actually, we'll use nasara because that's what we used the first time. Okay, nasara. Okay, I'll write the pronouns too. Huwa nasara, ma nasara, hum nasaru. هي نصرت، هما نصرتا، هن نصرن، أنت نصرت، أنتما نصرتما، أنتم نصرتم، أنت نصرت، أنتما نصرتما، أنتن نصرتن. أنا نصرت and نحن نصرنا. So this is the past tense chart. Make sure you know all of these words very well. Make sure you know all of these very well. Make sure you're fluent in reading these. You need to be able to plug in any three letters into this or any past tense into this and conjugate it all the way throughout. هو نصر، هما نصرا، هم نصروا، هي نصرت، هما نصرتا، هن نصرنا، أنت نصرت، أنتما نصرتما، أنتم نصرتم، أنت نصرت، أنتما نصرتما، أنتن نصرتن، أنا نصرت، نحن نصرنا. You should be able to do that no matter which past tense you're given. So if I gave you the past tense, for example, استغفر, you should be able to do the same thing with استغفر. هو استغفر، هو استغفرا، هم استغفروا، هي استغفرت، هما استغفرتا، هن استغفرنا، أنت استغفرت، أنتما استغفرتما، أنتم استغفرتم، أنت استغفرت، أنتما استغفرتما، أنتن استغفرتن، أنا استغفرت، نحن استغفرنا. So we need to be very, very, very solid on this chart as well as the present tense chart and the Muslim chart. We also need to know the pronouns and all that good stuff. So Sarf is going to be a lot of memorization. So try to get used to having a time every day where you can repeat all of these charts so that they can get solidified. Can we go over Ism Fa'il? We sure can go over Ism Fa'il. So yesterday, by the end of class yesterday, Ustad had introduced 4 parts of the Aslama family. We had the past tense, Aslama. We had the present tense, Yuslimu. The Masdar, which is the idea, Islaman. And then we had the fourth word, which we didn't go too much into detail, but this is called the Ism Fa'il. Ism Fa'il. Ism Fa'il. Ism Fa'il. And basically what this means is that whatever the verb is, whatever the action is, the Ism Fa'il is a person who does that action. So if we're talking about the verb allama, which means to teach, then the ism fa'il, mu'allim, is somebody who teaches, a teacher, right? In English, we use er to represent ism fa'il, teacher, player, runner, whatever. In this case, aslama means to submit or to surrender. So somebody who submits is called a Muslim, submitter. Okay? So whoever does the action of the verb is the ism fa'il. That's what this word represents. So a Muslim is anybody who submits. Is it compulsory to learn all the special mudafs with their meanings? So anything that's mentioned in the class would be a good idea to memorize because the content in this course is geared towards understanding the Quran. So anything that we mention in the course is something that makes an appearance at some point in the Quran, right? All of the special mudafs, they make an appearance at some point in Quran. Um, all of the harf jar make an appearance at some point in Quran. Same as harf nasab and light harfs and lightest harfs. All of this stuff you're gonna come across it at some point. So we're kind of introducing it here so that when eventually you do run into it, you'll know what it is and you won't be confused. The difference between rafa' ism fa'il, remember mazida, Ustad mentioned yesterday at the end of class, he mentioned that the answer to that question, what's the difference between rafa' and ism fa'il, as well as somebody asked about what's the difference between fa'il and ism fa'il. These two questions, the answer to that is going to be confusing right now. So for right now, don't really worry about what the difference is. Just try to understand what an ism fa'il is, and we'll get to the differences. Rubina, I don't understand your question. Can you please um, can you please clarify? Okay. Since I went over the past tense, I'll also write out the present tense, just to be fair. Okay. هو يسلم، ما يسلمان، هم يسلمون. Sorry. هي تسلم، وما تسلمان، كنا تسلمن، أنت تسلم، أنتما تسلمان، أنتم تسلمون، أنت تسلمين، أنتما تسلمان، أنتن تسلمن، أنا أسلم، and نحن نسلم. So just like with the past tense chart, this needs to be very solid. You need to be able to go through this entire chart without really having to think about it. When you get to that point where it's second nature, you don't really have to think about, okay, this one is ana, so I have to start it with hamza, or this one is anti, so I have to make sure I'm saying ina at the end of it. When you don't have to really worry about that and you're able to say all of this without having to think about it, that's how you know that you've mastered it. Oh yes, sorry, my typing error. Good catch. Yuslimna, not tuslimna for hunna. Jazakallah khairan. Rufaydin, in today's past tense example, istaghfara. I'm not sure if I understand that question either. The Hamzatul Wasl, if you're talking about the verb istaghfara that I mentioned earlier, talking about the verb istaghfara, at the beginning, this is a Hamzatul Wasl. You're right about that. But the thing about Hamzatul Wasl is we only skip it if there's something before it. If there's nothing before it, then we have to pronounce it. That's why it's there. Because otherwise, whoops, otherwise, if we didn't have the Hamzatul Wasl there, we would be starting with a sukoon, and you cannot start with a sukoon in Arabic. We can't say staghfara. We have to. That's why the Hamzatul Wasl is there as a placeholder. If there's nothing before the Hamzatul Wasl, then you read the Hamzatul Wasl. So if I had, for example, um, like Zaid istaghfara. Actually, let me make it easy. Huwa astaghfara. If I had huwa astaghfara, then I can skip the Hamzatul Wasl. I go straight from waw to sin. But if I don't have that huwa and I have nothing else before it either, then I read the Hamzatul Wasl. And in this case, I'll put a kasra on it. Istaghfara. And we talked about the rules of Hamzatul Wasl already. How do we know what vowel to put on it? So make sure that you're familiar with that as well, because that is something that's going to come up. How many families are there? There are a number of families, and don't you worry, we'll go over all of them. Nasara yansuru is a different family, yes. Istaghfara yastaghfiru is also a different family. Please explain the concept of the lightest word. Well, we haven't really delved too deep into the concept of it yet, but as a general overview, when we're talking about the present tense version, the present tense fi'l, so we'll use yansuru. This is the normal version, right? Where we have the dhamma at the end. Yansuru. But we also have a version where we make it light, and we also have a version where we make it lightest. And there are different reasons to make fi'ls light and lightest. So far for light, the only reason we've talked about is the light helps, right? An, lan, likay, hatta, and idan. When it comes to lightest, we have three reasons. We have the lightest helps, which are lam, lamma, wal, fal, and li. We also have commanding. When we want to make a fi'l commanding, then we make it lightest. And also forbidding. Forbidding is another reason to make a fi'l lightest. But essentially, when we're making a fi'l light, then that dhamma at the end turns into a fatha. So an yansura. Now this is light. But if I wanted to make it lightest, then I would change that ending to a sukoon. Lam yansur. And there are different ways to make it lightest depending on the plurality as well. Like for example, if my original word was yansurani, then all I would do is remove the noon. Yansura. If it was yansuruna, then I would remove the noon again. Yansuru. So it depends on what exactly the word is, um, for you to know how to make it light. But that's a general overview. I don't want to take up too much time on this because I want to make sure I can get other questions as well. Hawa, as long as you're able to understand what the pronoun is, then it's fine. Like if I give you yansurna, if you can tell that the pronoun inside of that is hunna, then that's okay. Guys, don't worry about passives right now. We're gonna go over passives today, inshallah. There are Shiraz, there are mistakes in the exam answer key. Um, we went over the exam as a class, and we haven't had time to go over the answer key and find all the mistakes and fix them. So inshallah, if you need to just go over the recordings for the exam review, inshallah. I cannot go over intransitive and transitive because we're gonna go over that today. Can I define the words on page 12 of the previous? I'm assuming you mean of the intensive one workbook. Let's see what page 12 is. Oh, we went over this in class as well. Okay, I'm gonna go over it quickly, so make sure whoever asked that question, make sure you pay attention. Harb means war. During a war, a soldier was daydreaming, looking up at the sama, sky, until the shams, sun, came up. When he snapped out of it, he realized he was the only nafs, person, you can say in this case, left on the battlefield. He was surrounded by nar, fire. So he used a dallu, a bucket full of water, to make a sabil and tariq. Both of these mean path, all the way to safer arb, land. In the hot blowing rih, which is wind, he was desperately looking for a bi'r. Bi'r means well, to draw water from. In his search, he found an empty dar, house, inside which he finds a ka's, which is cup, full of khamr, wine. He is tempted despite his fear of Jahannam and Sa'ir, both of these mean hellfire, to take a sip, but wards off his temptation and uses his asa, staff, to strike the drink. The keyboard that I use, and I'm pretty sure Ustad uses the same keyboard. On Windows, you can go into your keyboard settings and you can add a language, and you go to Arabic, and there are a bunch of different versions of the Arabic keyboard. The one that I use, and I'm pretty sure Ustad uses as well, is the is Saudi Arabia 101. There's 101 and there's 102. We use 101. Fayas, can I explain the partly flexible concept for places? Sure. Um, if you have the proper name of a place, and again, it's proper name of a place. It's not any name of a place. If I go to the masjid, masjid is the name of a place, sure, but it's not the proper name of a place. When I say proper name of a place, I mean if I say the name of this place, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. When I say masjid, it could mean any masjid. But when I say Makkah, for example, you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about Makkah. So Makkah is a proper name, masjid is not a proper name. Proper names of places are partly flexible. That's the rule. Exam section 1 number 22. Why akalahu could not be present. Let's look at it. I don't see an akalahu. Am I looking at the right? Oh, okay, sorry, I was in the wrong section. Section 1 of page 3. Okay, akalahu. So you could initially think that this is a present tense fi'l that is made light, but now you need to tell me what's the reason for it being light. Remember, the normal is normal, right? For light and lightest, we need a reason. So what's the reason? I can't just say it's a present tense fi'l and it's light without saying the reason for light. Just like when we were talking about isms, I can't say that um, an ism is light without giving a reason for it, right? We had the four reasons for light for an ism, and you need the reason to tell. Sorry, excuse me, I messed up my words. You need a reason to make an ism light. If you don't have a reason, then you can't make it light. It's that simple. So because I don't have a reason, then the better guess, if you had to guess, would be to say it's past tense. Nasara, right? It rhymes with nasara. Also, another clue, I guess, for this one could be that there would be too few letters. Usually, for the present tense, you're gonna have at least 4 letters. Usually, don't take that as a rule now. Usually, you're gonna have at least 4 letters. The easiest way to identify past tense is by seeing a past tense ending. And for anything other than the huwa version, the past tense ending is pretty clear. So, like for example, let's look through this very quickly. 1 does not have a past tense ending. 2, no. 3, no. 4, no. 7 could have a past tense ending. We would have to look 7 a little bit deeper. 8, that's a past tense ending. نحن نصرنا. نحن صابرنا. تعاونوا is also a past tense ending. هم نصروا. هم تعاونوا. أشركتم. نصرتم. علمتن. نصرتن. احترمت. نصرت. غرقنا. نصرنا. تنافستا. نصرتا. جاهدوا. نصروا. قاتلت. نصرت. And so on. I hope you guys get the idea. The best way is to just look at the ending first. If you come across a word that you think is a fi'l, first try to match it with one of the past tense endings. And you should have memorized the chart, so you should be able to go through them pretty quickly. And then if that fails, then you can look for present tense beginnings and endings. And as we get deeper into sarf, this will become easier. I already explained ism fa'il. We're gonna go over active and passive in class today. Some broken plurals are partly flexible. Sure. There are certain patterns. I'm not going to go into this too much in depth, but there are certain patterns that are partly flexible, and anytime you see that pattern, if you know the pattern, you'll know it's partly flexible. So, for example, for the word masjid, the plural of masjid is masajid, and this pattern masajid is a partly flexible pattern. And this is also a broken plural. So this broken plural is partly flexible. But that doesn't mean that every broken plural is partly flexible. It's only in certain patterns. And I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to let you be confused if you're still confused, because we'll cover all of that, inshallah. We'll do our pop quiz when class starts. Alai Qurai. How can a fa'il have properties? You read that wrong. It's not a fa'il and an ism will share properties. It's a fi'il and an ism will share properties. So this is a terminology thing. Fi'il and fa'il are two different words. These are not the same thing. Okay? These are separate things. A fi'il is a verb and a fa'il is something else. Candy Crush, we already went over the present tense chart. The way you would recognize a verb as present tense is by matching it with one of the words in the present tense chart. So if I see a ya at the beginning and it ends in u or a or sukun, then that could be a present tense. Ya with ani or ya with una. or ya with na. Same thing with ta. All of those endings with ta at the beginning as well. I could have hamza at the beginning. I could also have noon at the beginning. If I can match it with one of those, then it's likely that it's a present tense. Okay. In that case, a fi'l and an ism, the two properties that they share are number and gender. So just like we can say, for example, the word Muslim. Muslim is an ism, right? We can make it feminine, Muslima, and we can change the number, Muslimatani. So I changed the gender and I changed the number. Um, excuse me. I can do the same thing with the fi'l, right? I can take the fi'l, the present tense fi'l yuslimu, and I can make it feminine. I can say tuslimu. Now it's feminine. I can also make it dual, tuslimani. So just like I could do it with an ism, muslimun, I can do it with the fi'l yuslimu. So they share number and gender. Where can we access Intensive 3 past videos? On the Bayina website, the Bayina TV website, this one, dream.bayinatv.com. At the top here, you'll see previous sessions. And if you go up to previous sessions, you'll see the previous session. And you can click on these and you can watch the previous sessions. Jamil, if you're new to this class, then you really shouldn't be starting with Intensive 3. You should be starting with Intensive 1. And Intensive 1 is available on YouTube, inshallah, on the Bayina YouTube channel. How do you tell the properties of a special mudaf? You won't really need to ever tell the properties of a special mudaf. The only property you'll need to be able to tell is status. And that's going to be very clear because if it ends in fatha, like fawqa, then you'll see it's nasab. If it ends in kasra, fawqi, then it's jar. Intensive 1 already finished, so you don't have to join it. You just have to go to the old videos and watch it. Hayat Khan, it's still in the works. Maybe we'll have it out by today. Just keep it in dua, inshallah. On the exam, what's the reason for a 5A to be a fi'l? I think we went over this yesterday as well. Um, Let me see. Fatalaqqa. Yeah, we went over this yesterday as well. Um, okay. I'll go over one more time. I can understand that you might think that it's a non-flexible ism because it's ending with alif maqsura, um, but you would still need a reason. In this case, if this was an ism, then it's light with no alif lam, and in that case, it might be mudaf. But if you look at the word after it, the word after it is not jar, so it can't be a mudaf. And in that case, you would need to say like, what's the reason for it not to have, uh, for it not to be, for it to be light with no alif lam, and there is no other reason for that. So you can rule out it being an ism with that. You can make an educated guess with those clues that it's not an ism. So all that's left is fi'l, because it's certainly not a harf. All that's left is a fi'l. So it's the word after it that gives away that fatalaqqa is a fi'l. Let's see, Mishi, what was your question? Can I explain commanding and forbidding? No, I can't, because that's something we're going to go over in the future. Why is faces on page 13 feminine? Faces is a non-human plural. We went over that non-human plurals are all singular feminine. Can I discuss ismul ishara? So ismul ishara, we had the chart for ism ishara. I don't know the page number off the top of my head like Ustad does. But the asma al-ishara, they were هذا هذان هؤلاء هذه هاتان هؤلاء تلك تانك أولئك or ذلك ذانك أولئك تلك تانك أولئك. And essentially, the concept is if you have any of these, you have any of the ism isharas, and then after that you have an ism that starts with alif lam, then that becomes a fragment. This means this man. هذا الرجل, this man. But if this alif lam is removed, this is not an ism ishara fragment anymore. This is a sentence. This is a man. So the alif lam is necessary. Make it a fragment, the alif lam is necessary. I have to have هذا الرجل, just like we can go over a couple more. تلك الرسل, these messengers. Um, ذلك الكتاب, that book, and so on. That's ism ishara in a nutshell. They also need to match in all four properties, um, but that's a longer discussion. Ism Mosul, you didn't miss it during the sessions because we haven't learned Ism Mosul yet. All we've learned is that it's a thing. We haven't actually talked about it yet. Can I explain the words in Arabic? No, we're not going to talk about those words yet because those would confuse everybody. Enable Guy 2, it's Islaman because that's how Ustad is teaching it to you. So just take it and run with it. Excuse me. I'm forgetting all of intensive 1. That's a problem. We are going to be doing quizzes at the beginning of every class to keep intensive 1 content fresh, but make sure you're kind of doing some work on your own as well. Go through some of the old workbook problems. If you haven't already done all of them, then try to complete the workbook, the intensive 1 and 2 workbook. Um, yeah. just do some things here and there. You can open up Quran and try to see what you can identify. Be careful with that one though, because there's a chance you might confuse yourself. Don't go don't get too ahead of yourself in Quran and start asking why things are the way that they are. Just try to do the minimum that you know, and just try to keep everything fresh. Review the material as well. If you have a person or if you know somebody else who's taking these classes, you can review with them as well. So there's a couple things you can do. Ismu Jumliya, we haven't even remotely talked about anything related to anything called Ismu Jumliya. Sarah Muhammad, or no, yeah, Sarah Muhammad, I'm not sure I understood the question. You memorize the past and present chart, but the rules are different? The rules are the same. All of the endings we had for Nasara are gonna apply to Aslama as well. I can say Nasara, Aslama, Nasara, Aslama, Nasaru, Aslamu, Nasarat, أسلمت نصرتا أسلمتا نصرنا أسلمنا and so on. Same thing with the present. ينصر يسلم ينصران يسلمان ينصرون يسلمون so on. Explain the difference between a masdar and ism fa'il. They are both isms, but just because two things are isms doesn't mean they're the same thing. Remember when we learned the definition of an ism, if you recall what the definition was? In the definition, we listed like 7 things, right? Person, place, thing, idea, adjective, adverb, and more. So all of these different things can be ism. So an ism fa'il is a person most of the time, right? It will be a person, somebody who does something. But a masdar is an idea, person, place, thing, idea. So whatever the verb is, the idea of that verb will be the masdar. So for example, nasara means to help. So the masdar form of nasara, it would mean like helping or help in general. That would be the idea of it. Submission for aslama means to submit. The masdar form, islaman, means submission, right? So it's the idea of submitting. Akhraja means to expel or to remove somebody from something. So ikhrajan is expulsion, right? The idea of expelling, and so on. That's what a masdar is. SJ, we are going to study Jumla Fi'liya. Different question. I'm not 100% sure if I can answer that accurately right now either. Shafa Mahruf, I don't understand your question. Please clarify. Is a mawsuf always proper? No, it's not always proper. Because I can say a red book. And in that case, it's not proper. That's what I wanted to forget.
No, finish your answer.
A red book is not proper, so a mawsuf does not always have to be proper. But I can also say the red book. So in that case, it would be proper. It doesn't have to be proper though.
This is the truth. How's it going? How's it
Going
going?
good.
Yeah.
Most of our questions are still on stuff that's coming. A lot of questions on intransitive and transitive and active and passive.
Oh, we're starting that over. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. So, some of you are just really like scared. Stop being scared. It's
Yeah.
just surf.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You see, it's in your head. You get psyched out. Like that's what I do when I play kids in ping pong. I psych them out.
Uh-huh.
They're usually pretty good, and then when they play me, they can't. They start hitting the wall instead of the table because it's psychological war.
Mm-hmm.
So you're losing the battle inside your head.
It's
Stop.
the mental game.
It's a mental game. Just stop being intimidated. You'll be fine. Like, Aslama, bucket, container, contents. I don't get it. Relax. We're going to start over. Everything's going to be fine. Just going to take a deep breath. Maybe you should do jumping jacks. 5 minutes, we'll be back. Let's get started
Okay.
by saying goodbye. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum, guys.